I didn't think much of it when Emma started working late. Everyone gets busy sometimes. I'd cook dinner, set the table for two, and end up eating alone. She'd come home tired, barely say a word, and fall asleep on the couch. At first, I thought she just needed rest. That's what love does, it gives space when someone's struggling. But over time, that space became a wall, and behind it, she built a life where I didn't exist. We'd been together 7 years, married for 3. We weren't perfect, but we were solid, or so I thought. Lately, the silence between us wasn't comfortable anymore. It was heavy, like the air right before a storm. One Friday evening, I suggested something simple. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "How about we go somewhere this weekend? Just us, no phones, no work. Maybe that little cabin by the lake?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "Go alone," she said. "I'll like that better." It wasn't anger in her voice, it was indifference. And that cut deeper than shouting ever could. I laughed a little, expecting her to smirk or say she was joking. But she didn't, she just scrolled unmoved, like my suggestion was background noise. That's when it hit me. She wasn't tired of work. She was tired of me. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I replayed her words until they lost their meaning. Go alone. What does that even mean when you've spent years building a life together? By morning, something in me shifted. Not from anger, but clarity. I packed a small bag. Jeans, a couple of shirts, my old leather jacket she used to say made me look too serious. I looked around our apartment, the one we'd chosen together, painted together, filled with our things that suddenly felt like hers alone. She was sitting at the counter, drinking coffee, earbuds in. I told her quietly, "You said you'd like it better if I went alone. I'm going to take your advice." She looked up for the first time, eyes narrowing. "Wait, you're actually leaving?" "Yeah," I said. "I think it's time I do something for me." She didn't say a word. Just watched as I grabbed my keys and walked out. I drove for hours. No music, no calls, just silence and road. It was strange how peaceful it felt. Like exhaling after holding your breath too long. By evening, I reached the lake. The cabin was quiet, wrapped in the smell of pine and rain. I made coffee, sat by the window, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells. I thought about all the small moments I'd ignored. The way she stopped asking about my day. The way she'd smile at her phone but never at me. The way we had turned into you and I long before that conversation. It's funny. When someone drifts away, you don't notice the distance right away. You just start lowering your expectations to keep the peace. That weekend, I walked the trails we'd once promised to hike together. The trees whispered, the lake shimmered, and I realized something. Peace doesn't always come with company. Sometimes it's found in the absence of noise. I thought about calling her. Maybe to say I missed her. Maybe to ask if she was okay. But every time I reached for my phone, I remembered her tone. Flat, final, detached. She'd meant it, and for the first time I did something she never expected. I listened. I stayed at that cabin for 3 days. I cooked simple meals, read an old paperback I'd been too busy for, and slept with the windows open. I didn't feel lonely. I felt present. When I finally drove home, I didn't feel like the same man who left. Something had changed in me. Maybe it was acceptance. Maybe it was the realization that love shouldn't feel like waiting for someone to care again. When I walked into the apartment, the air felt colder. There was no note, no message, no sign she'd even noticed I was gone. That was the moment I knew. She'd already left me emotionally long before I ever packed that bag. I didn't confront her when I got back. There was nothing left to say. The silence between us wasn't just quiet anymore, it was vacant. Like two strangers politely sharing the same roof. She barely looked up when I entered. "You're back early," she said, her voice detached. "Yeah," I replied. Didn't see a reason to stay longer. She nodded once, eyes back on her laptop. That was it. No curiosity, no warmth, no guilt. Just nothing. I realized then how easy indifference looks when someone's already made up their mind to stop caring. The next morning, I made coffee and sat by the window while she got ready for work. She moved through the house like I wasn't there, grabbing her keys, checking her reflection, spraying perfume she used to ask me to pick. Before she left, she said, "We should talk sometime." I smiled, not out of sarcasm but understanding. "We had plenty of time to talk, Emma, you just stopped listening." She didn't respond. Just closed the door softly like she didn't want to wake a memory. That night I packed again. This time it wasn't for a weekend. I wasn't angry. I didn't break anything. Didn't send long texts. Didn't ask for explanations. I just folded my life into a suitcase and left quietly, exactly how she'd made me feel for months. I rented a small apartment near the edge of town. Nothing fancy, 1 bedroom, wooden floors, a balcony overlooking a park. The kind of place you heal in, not start over. At first it was strange waking up alone, but soon I found peace in the routine. I'd make breakfast, go for long walks, talk to people without pretending to be okay. I even started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. Funny how solitude brings back parts of you that someone else had slowly erased. Sometimes I'd scroll through old photos, trips, birthdays, lazy Sundays. I wasn't angry at her, just sad for the man who kept hoping she'd turn around. People often say the opposite of love is hate. They're wrong. It's indifference. Hate still takes energy. Indifference is when you stop existing in someone's world. Weeks later, I ran into one of our old friends at a coffee shop. He looked surprised to see me alone. "Hey man, haven't seen you two around. Everything okay?" I smiled. "Yeah, everything's finally okay." He didn't press, but I could see it in his eyes. He knew. Everyone always knows when a relationship dies. The only people who pretend otherwise are the ones inside it. A few days later, Emma texted, "I thought maybe we could talk." I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't hate her. I didn't even resent her. I'd just outgrown the version of me who kept asking for love that wasn't coming back. So I replied, "You told me to go alone." I did, and I found peace there, no drama. No punctuation for effect. Just truth. She never replied. Months passed. Seasons changed. The ache faded, not quickly but completely. Pain has a way of burning everything unnecessary until all that's left is clarity. Sometimes I drive past the old lake. The cabin's still there, the water's still calm. I sit on that same porch and watch the sunset alone, and it doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels earned. That place isn't a memory of her now, it's a reminder of me. The man who finally stopped begging for connection and started valuing silence over indifference. I've learned something about love. It's not about who stays the longest. It's about who shows up every day, even when it's inconvenient. She didn't want to come with me that weekend, so I went alone. And somewhere between the drive and the quiet, I realized she gave me the best advice she ever could. She said, "Go alone." So I did, and I never came back. Not to her. Not to who I used to be, forever.